Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Wasn't right.
Pair that.
All right, Grizzle, it's 5 o'clock. I'm gonna go ahead and hit record, okay?
Okay.
Or did somebody already hit record? Let
You
me
know
see.
what? When I logged on, it said it was recording, so I think it's automatic.
Okay.
Yeah, it said that to me too.
It did? Okay. You want me to start, Christy?
Yes, we're ready.
Okay. All right. Good evening and welcome to Kimberly's Go Team meeting. Where we will follow the agenda as it has been emailed to you and publicly noticed. I would like to remind everyone that this is a meeting of the Go Team. Only members of the team may participate in the discussion. Any members of the public present are here to quietly observe. For members of the Go Team, please identify yourself when you speak. I am pleased to call this meeting of the Kimberly Go Team to order at 5:02 p.m. Our first order of business is to call roll. The secretary will now take the roll. Please,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
that's Miss Amy. Is Miss Amy on?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Please respond present when your name is called. Christy Reese,
Present.
Jillian Dixon,
Present.
Sharita Moran,
Present.
Jenny Goodrich,
Present.
Lucky Amy, I'm present. Dana Dixon Martin,
Present.
Sharon Hestall,
Present.
Leanne Patterson,
Present.
Catherine Carter Smith, and Tamika Grizzle.
Present.
Thank you.
Okay. The team will only be able to take official action if a quorum is present. Miss Amy, is there a quorum present?
Yes, there's a quorum present.
All right. All right, so our first order of business is to approve the agenda. This was provided to you and copies were emailed and posted. Are there any changes to the agenda? I don't think there were changes, okay. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Leanne Patterson, make a motion to approve the agenda.
A second?
I like it, Amy. Second that motion to approve the agenda.
All in favor, please say aye, so the secretary can record your vote.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? Please say abstain. All right. We will review and approve the meeting minutes from our last meeting. The minutes have been provided to you. Are there any corrections? Okay. If there are no further corrections, may I have a motion to approve the previous meeting's minutes?
Hi, Jenny Goodrich, motion to approve the previous meeting's minutes.
A second?
I sure
Leanne.
motion.
Does somebody want a second?
I Sharita Moran second that motion.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? Please say abstain. Okay. We will now move to the discussion items on our agenda. The first is the school strategic plan.
All right, so this is our strategic plan. Our plan extends itself from 2020 through 2026. Our SMART goals are to increase the number of students in grades 3 through 5 scoring proficient and above in reading as measured by the Georgia Milestones Assessment. There is a district goal for 2026 of 47%. We want to increase the percentage of students in grades 3 through 5 scoring proficient and above in math as measured by the Georgia Milestones Assessment. That has a district goal of 45.4% by 2026. We want to increase the daily attendance rate for students K-5 on an average of 95% or higher. And we also want to decrease the number of students scoring extremely elevated as measured by the BEST assessment from the pre to the post. One thing I want to mention with the BEST assessment is we no longer give that full school. We use that on an as-needed basis. All right. All of our work is grounded in the APS strategic priorities and initiatives to foster academic excellence for all. That's our data curriculum and instruction signature program. Building a culture of student support, that's whole child intervention and personalized learning. Equipping and empowering leaders and staff, strategic staff support, equitable resource allocation. Creating a system of school support, strategic staff support, equitable resource allocation. Our school strategic priorities include developing knowledgeable scholars through the use of an academic systems framework, and that's our IB framework. Build student mathematical and critical thinking skills. Create a literate community in which students read and write with clarity. So I just want to jump over on this one and talk about our school strategies. We want to ensure that a mastery of the core content in connection with the IB framework is used. We want to increase student discourse during mathematics, incorporate problem solving daily in math content, and ensure that guided reading is implemented with fidelity. We actually are going to make a change on that one, and we're going to ensure that small group reading is implemented with fidelity. Gone are the days they use the terms guided reading. We're going to create a safe, nurturing, and caring environment for all students, utilize flexible learning tools, technology integration, and targeted instruction to personalize learning for all students. We're going to use explicit teaching of daily SEL lessons. We have that built into our schedule every day. Wraparound supports for students. Ensure that intervention block is implemented with fidelity. So in lieu of an intervention block that we had in our schedule last year, our intervention is what happens with our students that are in MTSS. And so we'll talk a little bit more about how we're supporting that. We're going to build the capacity of teacher leaders to support instructional programs and implementation, provide targeted PL opportunities focused on the implementation of Georgia Standards of Excellence, increase related endorsements and certifications. We're going to build capacity of school to support parent community partners and improve student attendance. And we plan to do that by parent engagement, a parent engagement strategy of removing barriers. Our parent academies, cultivate community partnerships to support school improvement efforts. I'm sorry, I was trying to see the bottom. Sorry. And utilize school-based wraparound services. All right. This slide represents the strategic planning priority ranking. This was done last school year. This will happen again before December, right before we start to talk about budgeting for next school year. So based on last school year, ranking from high priority to low priority, we had create a literate community in which students read and write with clarity and fluency. Build the capacity of teacher leaders to support instructional programs and implementation. Create a safe, nurturing, and caring environment for all students. Build student mathematical and critical thinking skills. improve student attendance, utilize flexible learning tools, technology integration, and targeted instruction to personalize learning for all students, build capacity of school to support parent-community partnerships, develop knowledgeable scholars through the use of an academic systems framework, IB. This is how we connect our strategic plan to our continuous improvement plan. So one of our strategic plan priorities was to create a literate community in which students read and write with clarity. So we developed a continuous improvement plan SMART goal, and our SMART goal was to increase the percentage of students, it started with decreasing the percentage of students by 3% who were in the beginning learning level, and increase the number of students by 5% who were in the proficient and above level. So with that goal, we decided to measure that with our MAP assessment. We take MAP 3 times a year. And so based on this goal, our actual target to decrease would be at 45%. That means we are coming from 48%. And then our target to increase in ELA would be at 27%, which means we are currently sitting at 22% as measured by MAP of last school year. During the, and I take that back because this is actually measured by our MAP of the fall of this school year. Our key indicator, 75% of students will perform at their growth target, meet or exceed on the MAP projected score indicator. So I just want to talk just a little bit about that. So every student that takes MAP, there is an individualized plan that says, if you're growing at an average rate, this is where you should be based on where you start. So there is an indicator for typical growth, which is your meets, and there's an indicator for exceeds. For majority of our learners that are below grade level, we are targeting the exceeds. We get our teachers to really try to aim for the exceeds because we have to make up. If we're just making typical growth, we're never going to get our babies where we need them to be. We want to create a literate community in which students read and write with fluency. That is going to take us to our right score CIP goal. And so during the 24-25, the percentage of students achieving a raw score of 3 or higher on right score reading narrative, we pick just the narrative, will increase by 5%. So what I need to explain here is that this is on a 4-point scale. So we want to move from 7% to 12%. All right, how will we achieve this? Because there is a focus on ensuring that writing instruction is explicitly taught every day, we feel like if we can maintain an attendance rate higher than 66%, that if the students are here, we will be able to meet this goal. We want to build mathematical and critical thinking skills. The goal that we use for this, we also use MAP. It's very similar to our ELA goal. We want to decrease students in the beginning level by 3%, while increasing the students in the proficient and above by 5%. So that'll give us a goal of 53% because we are currently at 56% in the beginning level, and a goal of 23% because we're currently at 18% as proficient and above. We're going to measure that by 75% of our students performing at their growth target at the meets or exceeds on the MAP projected score indicator. And we're going to look a little bit deeper into MAP in just a little bit. We want to improve student attendance. That means that during this school year, we want to decrease the number of students who are absent 10% or more of their enrolled days. So that decrease is going to take us from 39% to 34%. So we want a 5% decrease there. And we will measure that with our CCRPI attendance rate. All right, we're going to move on to our data discussion. This slide represents our spring MAP results. So this is last assessment we took in spring of 2023-24. It is broken up by grade level. And I'm going to start at the bottom because that's where third grade is. In third grade, we had 47% of our learners in the beginning level, while we had only 15% of our learners in proficient and above. Our fourth graders, we had 66% of our learners in our reading map below grade level on the beginning level, where we only had 4% of our learners proficient and above. And I only have that number correct. So let me do math real quick. Six. All right. So looking at fifth grade, we had 48% of our learners in our beginning level, whereas 31% of our learners were in our proficient and, well, not above, just proficient, because we don't have the dark green there level. One thing I want to add about this as we look at our fifth grade really did a really good job at the end. Their teachers teach them fourth and fifth. So for the most part, we try not to have any major changes. Sometimes we do have personnel changes, and there are some kids who had to swap teams, but we try to get their teachers with them for grade 4 and grade 5 so that we can see better increases in reading and mathematics, because these teachers already know where to start with them when they go to fifth grade. These are our map results for reading. And so what this plot does is it's moving from, if you look at the bottom left quartile, that represents low achievement, low growth. So our goal is always going to be the top right quartile, which is high achievement, high growth. At this, based on last year's spring reading map results, our fourth graders and our fifth graders were edging up to high growth. So when you look at that and you see that the fourth graders achieve high growth, but we just saw a slide where the fourth graders were still 66% in the red. There is a tremendous amount of growth that is happening that just shows you, for an example, the level in which some of our learners, their entry points. And one thing about Kimberly is a school with high mobility. So a lot of times the students that we are serving are different from year to year, but our teachers do an awesome job of taking them where they are and moving them forward. When we look at third grade is in our, they're in our lowest point in the quartile. In third grade, we did have a change last year. We had a change in staff. And so that could have impacted what happened in third grade. However, they're in fourth grade now. And so we pick them up where they are and we help move them forward. When you see the LOK, the S, that is where we are as a school. So as a school, we're inching our way towards high growth. It would be nice to inch our way towards high growth and over to the right to our high achievement as well. But this is what we look like currently in the spring for our map results. This is fall to fall map results. So what I have at the top is I have the district fall to fall. And so that would be the exams that were given for students that are in grades 2 through 5 throughout the district. Sorry, y'all. And so make sure I'm on the right slide. I am. All right. So what you see here is you're going to see for each grade level, you're going to see the shift that happened from fall 2023-24 to fall 24-25. So the students that you are seeing on here, majority of these students were at Kimberly. Now, this is what also happens with MAP. If they were at any other APS school that gave MAP, it does capture those students as well. So it's not just isolated to students that started with us in the fall and took the test again in the fall of this year. It captures anybody that took MAP in the fall and then took it again this year within our district. So what we do see here, though, we see in grade 2, we see a decrease of the students in the beginning level. We see a very significant decrease, and we see a significant increase in the students who are performing on grade level. That's the green. But when you look over to the right, we've lost some students who were exceeding expectations, because we had 9% there, and you can see how dark that sliver of green is on that 2024-25 line. So that's something to think about as we look at students who are underperforming, but students who were performing, and making sure we maintain the success that they were already having. When we look at third grade, we see a slight decrease from 57% to 53%. Our goal is always to decrease by 3, and we want to increase by 5%. Now, significant increase from fall to fall when you look at the students who are proficient. Looks like the students who were exceeding, they kind of maintained, those distinguished students kind of maintained, but we did increase the number of students who are proficient. When you look at grade 4, you see a decrease. It is a little over 3% there. And you see where we look like we lost students. We gained students in the distinguished category, but we lost overall some students that shifted from proficient to developing. When we look at 5th grade, so this is where I need to move my bar without it changing my view. I'm sorry, give me 1 second. Okay. When we look at the 5th graders, we have some significant movement from students out of beginning to students who are from 45% to 37%. And we have a significant increase of students who moved from developing to proficient. So we went from just 16% in 2023-24 to 32% in 24-25. So this is fall of last year compared to what we have now as fall of this year. All right, when we look at our spring of last year map results for mathematics, we are looking at our 5th grade students, with 48% of those 5th graders in the beginning learner level. 21% were in the meets category, in the proficient category. Our 4th graders, we have 38% of our students that are in the beginning learner level, where we have 7% of our students in the proficient learning level. In 3rd grade, 30% in the beginning learning level, and then we have 20% in the proficient learning level. Well, we have 17 in proficient and another 3 in distinguished. Here's that same grid for mathematics. This is last year's spring math results. We fared much better in math. Our kindergarten students were in that quartile that we really want to be in, the high achievement, high growth. 4th grade students, they were headed that way. 5th grade students, they are in the high growth category, which is always something to be proud of. Kimberly as a whole in math, we are above that 50 percentile norm, so we are in the high growth percentile. 2nd and 1st grade, very close. Again, there's our 3rd grade group, which means those 3rd graders are now our 4th graders. So we have to be very strategic in targeting the support that they get this school year. Here is their fall to fall map results for mathematics. And so when you look at their fall to fall, and it's always important to kind of keep your eye on that district number as well when you're comparing, what is happening. And so a lot of times we are not really that far off from the district. That doesn't mean that we're, happy with that performance, but it does give us something to compare ourselves to. When we look at 2nd grade in the area of mathematics, we did a 3% decrease there from 39 to 36%. And however, we lost some students to developing. As you see, that 11% there is 87. So that is 3. So that is 2% in distinguished there. So when we look at that 11% and that 2% in distinguished, we've lost some of those students to the developing category. In grade 3, that's that grade that we've been talking about Grade 3, we have 36% in 2023-24, and we only had a minor shift in 24-25 with at 35%. We also have lost some students. Now, I'm saying that we lost students, but remember, this includes students who took MAP somewhere else in the fall of 2023. They are going to be included in this number. So it could not be, it could be that we did not lose them, or we did, but we're going to look at it like a loss and something that we need to make up. So in grade 4, we have over that 3% decrease in beginning, and we maintain that 10% there in proficient. In 5th grade, we don't have that 3% that we look for. We did gain 1% in proficient. And this is very important to us, even though this doesn't represent Georgia milestones. And it's very important because we actually take this assessment 3 times a year. So this is what we use as our checkpoint. This is what we actually base our goals on, because waiting for milestone scores to come back, it takes so long for them to come back sometimes during the summer that you really can't compare. But this allows us at winter to have a midpoint check, and then in the spring to have like that final check to look at our students' growth. And our teachers' goals, they are built around MAP and growing their students. This represents writing. I said we would talk more about this. This represents our students in 23. So that would be winter, spring of 23, February 27th. And they took a narrative assessment, and they had, let me put the numbers in my head real quick. That's 6, 80, 90. All right, 96. So we had, it looks like it's pretty even. So it's either 3% and 1% or 2 and 2 of our students that were in the proficient and distinguished category. But really, when you look at this, you're really thinking about numbers, the numbers 1 through 4. So when you look at that dark blue, that's somebody who would score a level 4 out of 4. And when you look at the blue, those are students who scored 3 out of 4. So when you compare that to what happened last spring, we were able to increase that to 7%. Work to be done here to make sure that we are adequately decreasing the students that are at level 1. So our goal this year for writing, as previously stated, is that we want to go from 7% to 12%. Now, these are just attainable goals. We want to go beyond 12%. But the goal that we have to put in place that would be considered our SMART goal, something that is achievable and attainable, that is at 12%. These GMAS results represent what has happened from 2023 to 2024. So I do need to say, you're not going to see any data related around Georgia Milestones mathematics. That data is still embargoed. We will share that data at our next meeting. It is not going to be released until around September 27th. So you'll notice that there's no arrow there in math, and there is no representation of 2024. However, when you look at 2023 to 2024, and this is the spring Georgia milestones, we did have an increase in English language arts, and we had an increase in science. And so that we are headed on the right track. This represents just students who are proficient and above. So one thing about when you think about Georgia milestones and you think about CCRPI, any student that is proficient, they earn us a point, and students that are distinguished earn us a 1.5 points, and distinguished and proficient are mixed into that number. And any student that is developing earns us 0.5 point. So you don't see the students who are developing, because we like to create our goals around proficiency. Here's our GMAS results for reading. So I have the district up above, and then you'll see Kimberly right below, so that you can kind of compare to the district. In 3rd grade, there we are at 64% of those learners at the beginning level. In 4th grade, we're at 39%, but when you look up to the district was at 40%. And then in 5th grade, we're at 41%. So Our fifth graders that left to go to middle school, 27%, over 27%, that is 8. So that is going to be 2% over in the distinguished category. Those students that left us last year, we sent 29% of them proficient and above to middle school. This is our GMAS results for science. Science is something that we really started to make sure that didn't get left off. A lot of times when teachers are teaching and they are trying to prioritize reading and mathematics, and sometimes science and social studies gets put on the back burner, but we had to make sure that our teachers were intentional about making sure that adequate science was taught and social studies, because this is something that's going to translate better when they go to middle school and high school. Last year, 57% of our students were in the beginning learner level. Now, it may look like a lot, but that is actually a jump from where we were. Is when you saw the slide previously to show how we have gone up in proficient and above. This slide represents the number of students who are at or above reading level. Now, this is based off of Georgia milestones. So you see in 2022, we were at 70% of our students were not on reading level, with 30% at or above reading level. In 2023, we were at 58% students not on reading level, with 42% at or above. And then 2024, 57% with 43%. That is something that we want to definitely increase. GMAS student growth percentiles. Sorry. All right. So any student that took a test the year prior and then takes the next test the next year up, that you'll be able to see their growth. And so they have a growth percentile score that they are given, and it's based on a typical student that scores like this in this grade. And so what we see is our growth percentile, 53% of our students are exceeding their growth, with 25% of our students at meeting their growth percentile, 23% below. This is, so when you think about in totality, everything that we talked about all the needs we have, the opportunities for growth. This slide right here, this growth percentile, this shows how hard our teachers are working. Because no matter where you test in, that next year, you are growing exponentially. 50% of our babies are growing above the expected growth target for where they are. So that happened in 4th and in 5th. Here are a few, couldn't get that word out, a few glows and grows. All right, for our glows. We have overall gains on all of our tests for GMAS, for ELA and science, the ones that we can talk about for students in grades 3 through 5. There was a slight decrease in the number of beginning level learners as measured by MathMap, but there was a decrease all the same. At least 3% decrease in the number of students in the beginning level learner, and for students in 3 through 5 as measured by MAP reading. There was a significant decrease in the number of 5th graders scoring in the beginning learner level as measured by GMAS science. Some grows. There was a decline in reading proficiency for students in grades 3 as measured by GMAS. There is a need to increase the number of students scoring proficient in math as measured by MAP Math. So, are we on target to successfully accomplish our priorities? We will have, Dr. Grizzle is going to open up a discussion about our data, and then we'll address what we are doing to meet some of those priorities that we have based on the data that we have.
So I know that was a lot of data that you saw with reading and science, and then the MAP reading and ELA. Was there anything that you all noticed that stood out to you as Kimberly, collectively, how we're doing? Not individual, but I mean, you can look at it as individual grades, but like collectively, how do you think, or what do you notice about our scores?
I kind of have just an observation, maybe a question or to throw out, and just wanting to understand more about the correlation between reading and math, knowing that both of those are priorities that we need to really focus on, and wondering if we were able to identify the types of math problems that students were having difficulty with, and if they were linked to their inability to comprehend what they were actually being asked to do in the math.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, in our PLCs, we go through our pre-mid and post assessments, and we use the platform Math to Reconnect to do an item analysis. So in every PLCs, we look through the data and we go through, okay, what is the most challenging for our students? What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? And we come up with strategies, multiple strategies for one skill so that students can grab that skill in their own way. So yes, and then the map, there is a correlation between MAP and GMAS, even though MAP is adaptive. So what I did do for Math the Team, I found these activities that are applicable to their RIT band. So if their RIT score on the MAP falls between, 150 and 160, they can pull activities within that band to make sure that they're understanding, that scale or strategy that they need to succeed on the map. So there is some correlation there.
What's a RIT score?
So the RIT, I don't know what that stands for, RIT, but that just shows you where the level the students are on, whether it's beginning, on, or above
For reading?
level. Yes, so when you
Okay.
look at the map, reading and math. So when you look at the RIT score, beside it, there are like these, I guess, colors that fall within that band. So if they are, fifth grade and they score, their RIT score in math or reading is between 118 and, we jump in 118 or, 120, that's like below grade level. So you have a
is
RIT score and you have an indicator.
Is RIT score the same as Lexile, or is it slightly different? Slightly different?
No, it's
No,
not.
it's-
Yeah.
It's a lot different.
Okay.
So their RIT score is just a scale score that shows their achievement. Okay.
Okay. Got it.
So even though Dr. Grizzle said this test is adaptive, so that means as you are getting questions correct, it is feeding you harder and harder questions, right? And they try to level out so that we can see exactly where are you working from? What are your deficits? What are you good at? And we use that information when we do small group planning so that we can meet the needs of all learners. Our Lexile is a little bit different. The Lexile is a number that is assigned to a reader to say, what level of text do you need? Do you remember, Coach Hextall, in the past when we gave star and star would say, oh, you have a grade level equivalency of a 3.5, a third grader in the fifth year. Well, that's now translated into Lexile. Lexile is now the universal.
Got it.
And so what happens with MAP, it does give us some Lexile numbers for our students. And so we are able to look at students' Lexile and know what type of text to put in front of them, know what type of text that they could read independently, what kind of text that would frustrate them, and the kind of text that would be appropriate for them instructionally.
Got it.
So it is two totally different things.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Dr. Chris,
Thank you, Ms. Reese. Could you check your message, your text real quickly? Thank you.
Dr. Grizzle, is it possible that you can go back to the slides or just go back?
Of course. Yeah, Miss Reed,
Mm.
let me see if I have control over that.
I also
Miss-
have a question when you get done.
Okay.
Okay.
Where's Miss Reese? I don't have access to the slides. Miss Reese is reading a text right now.
If you could pull up the slide that we're speaking to, that would make.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, which slide is it? I'm sorry.
Yeah, which slide do you want to go
I
to?
think
Ms.
go
Patterson?
back like one or two. The one with the date on it. Is that what she
Yes.
wanted? Yeah.
This one?
Which one?
Well, the one previous,
Okay.
the one,
That's science,
Okay,
this is
so
reading. Okay.
so what we were speaking to, I just wanted to, so I could see the data, but this is fine. Thank you.
I
Oh, I
had a
see what you
question.
mean. For the questions, you want to see the data so you know what the questions to ask. I get it.
Yes, thank you.
Maybe we can go to the reading and math, Ms. Reese, so they can see that. Is there one with both on there?
So no, there's not one with both.
Okay.
So, there's this one that shows the proficiency and above. Tell me which one you need, and I'll try to find it.
Ms. Patterson, is there anyone particular you just want to see any data so you have you can ask questions about it?
Yeah, so whatever we're speaking to pertaining, we can have the data to look at, and then we can
Okay,
kind of
got it.
toggle back and forth.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
All right. So any other questions, and I'll try to find the slide that is pertaining to.
Yeah.
I
So,
just had an observation or a question like what's happening with third grade? Because all across the board, they seem to be low and not showing the growth as the other grade levels. Does that make sense?
yeah, so
Yeah.
like Ms. Reese said, we had some personnel changes last year. So there was some inconsistency with the teachers. One was moved out and another was moved in January. So you know, the students had to get used to a new teaching, new instructional style. But moving on from there in fourth and fifth, we do have, you know, some strong teachers that will make up these gaps. But in
Okay.
third grade, there was a lot of, you know, changes going on with the teachers. So that could be a major impact.
And you actually had a teacher who moved to what, fourth grade, I believe,
So
that
that
worked with
one
the students
teacher
last
moved,
year. So
yes,
that's going to
so
be
she
helpful
moved
as
up to
well.
fourth and fifth, Ms. Heck. So you're
Right.
correct. So the good thing about that is she had those students last year. And so now she has those fourth graders. So she already has an idea of their strengths and weaknesses and how to approach those things. So yeah, that's a good observation.
Okay.
So one of the other things that we put in place is that structure that we use with our EIP teachers and our specialists. And we try to have another certified teacher in the classroom with the teacher to offset the number of students that they can serve. So the idea of having smaller groups, having students rotate. So at any day during small group instruction, they get to get explicit instruction from another adult. So that is something that we started to implement last year and that we started the year off implementing this year. We also made another change, and I was going to talk about this a little bit later when we talk about budget, but we did create a self-contained kindergarten class and a self-contained second grade class of students who are struggling learners in the area of reading and mathematics. And so we are able to reduce class sizes down so that we can build those foundational skills so that we can make them stronger before they go to third grade. And part of it is not just third grade, it's the heavy lift that third grade has to make when they receive the students. So we really had to go down and build up their foundation so that we don't have the issue of having students go to third grade who are not prepared.
Thank you for that, Ms. Reese. Are there any other wanderings? Any particular slide?
No, if we could stay here for a moment to talk about the third grade. I do know, so based on what we talked about last year with the Go team, and I know that there is a strong focus this year on literacy. And I know that we were talking about what we were going to do to address the attention that needs to be given. And we talked about tutors, we talked about personnel who are going to focus on that particular area. Can we touch on that as it pertains to the third graders and how that extra support, kind of what you just mentioned with those classrooms, but what else are we going to be focusing on as it pertains to literacy and those third graders for this year?
So one of the things that we implemented this school year that the Go team would not be privy to last year, because it came to us at the beginning of the school year, really right at the end of the summer. We did change one of the resources that we use for instruction. We're using a resource called Flyleaf. And this particular resource, we test our students, every student in our building, except in kindergarten. In kindergarten, we're going to start testing them in second semester, but in the first semester, they're all working on the same curriculum to build them up in the first month of kindergarten. But everybody else in grades 1 through 5, they were all tested, and we found their entry point into this program. And this particular program is explicit with building their foundational skills, building phonics, phonemic awareness. Some of the things that we implemented last year, we weren't able to give it a fair shot because we integrated morphine for littles. And so that was morphology, but we integrated that in the spring of last year. Now, the good news about it is when our teacher showed up this school year, it wasn't one more thing to learn. They already got their feet wet with it, and they were proficient in providing that instruction. We also use a program called Haggerty. And in this particular program, it is focused on phonemic awareness. And so our students are getting phonics instruction, explicit phonics instruction, 10 minutes a day, every day. They practice in PLC just to make sure that they're delivering it with accuracy. So outside of having that small group that is linked directly to what they need to grow, they take progress monitoring assessments so that we now are able to see the growth. So every 6 to 8 weeks, depending on where they are in that particular series, they take an assessment so that we can see the growth that they're having from one series to the next. Because our students, majority of our students are not reading on grade level, we are using a more fast track approach because we know that we have to work a little bit harder to play catch up. We can't just give you one grade level, 1 years of growth. The 1 year of growth is not going to put you where you need to be when you get ready to go to middle school. So if we see any opportunity for a student to test out of a particular group and move to the next group, we quickly are moving those kids on so that we can make sure they get the just right instruction. I'm going to be honest with you. We have the right people in place this year. And I could not always say that, but this year we have the right people in place. It does not matter where you go in that building, you're going to see caring adults who are focused on giving the students the best instruction. And so I know that we're going to achieve great things.
Can I also say, Ms. Reese, that the training for teachers has been really impacted this year with Rollins. So
Yes.
you've got not only your academic teachers going through training about how to teach reading and all of the technical aspects of it, but also, you've got your specials teachers like myself going through that same training. So I think that we're all on the same page in terms of what the priorities and focus are. And I think there's going to be even more intentional, we'll be more intentional on our end of making sure that students get what they need.
Absolutely. I feel like what you said, Ms. Hexall, literacy is school-wide. Not just the classroom teachers, but the specials are in the PLCs contributing to how they can implement ELA in their
Across the
subject,
curriculum.
whether it's PE, art, or music. So it's widespread.
I want to give an example of something that I saw today. Today, I was sitting in the ELA PLC for 3rd grade, and they discussed a writing prompt that they were going to use it was a how-to prompt, an informational prompt. And this prompt talked about how to build sand art. And our art teacher is sitting in the room, and he says, okay, I've got it. I know exactly what I'm going to do with 3rd grade when they come to art. So now we're going to have a group of students who are actually going to experience something so that when they transfer that into their writing, it's going to create more details, more background knowledge. So we kind of jokingly say literacy is everybody's business, right? It doesn't matter who you are. It is everybody's business at Kimberly Elementary School.
Well, as a parent, I'd like to say that I love everything that you ladies are saying. Knowing that Kimberly is what did you call it? A high movement, high transient school. But we've been with Kimberly since pre-K. We're not that parent or that family. But to know that the development of my child is just as important as the development of the kids that weren't here last year and may not be here next year. And that he's still going to get the same, one-on-one training that he needs to develop, at his own pace is important to me as a parent. I'm going to do my part on my end. I know you are going to do your part on your end. And I know no matter what these numbers say, he's going to succeed because everybody is so committed to the task at hand. So thank you. As a parent, thank you.
We appreciate you.
This is great. I love that we're talking about this. And I just wanted to add, not only internally within the school, your teachers, your instructors, but also the community. So the messaging regarding literacy, improving reading scores, doing whatever we need to do, whether it be coming on site to help tutor, whatever it may be. So this is wonderful, and we will continue doing the work.
Thank you.
That was some really rich discussion and some transparency. So just know that, your child, the community, your involvement in Kimberly is very important to us. Do we have any more questions, additional questions, or wonderings? I'm sorry. Okay, I guess that was somebody's mic that was on. All right, I guess we can conclude that discussion. And there's always a phone call or an email away if you have any more questions or concerns.
All right, this slide represents the timeline for Go Teams. Starting the fall of 2021, the Go Team model was developed, and so was the strategic plan. And then over that summer, school leadership did needs assessment and identified the overarching needs. That moved into August, where school leadership completed continuous improvement plans. And we work on that every summer, okay? So just making sure that we stay fresh with the data and that we're trending in the right direction. And here we are. We are here September, December, and we are going to utilize our current data. Our Go team is going to review, which we did today. And we'll possibly make some updates to our strategic priorities in our plan. It is a living document. So at any moment we can adjust so that we are making sure that we are doing what's best for kids. Now, before we get to the winter break, we're going to take action and we're going to vote and we're going to rank our strategic plan priorities. So we saw earlier in our slide deck that we had the one from last school year, and then we'll do one again before winter break. And we will use that to prepare the budget. All right, any questions so far? All right, Dr. Grizzle.
Okay. So we have an important decision to make regarding the continuation or implementation of an optional school uniform. Our goal today is to first decide whether we wish to move forward with this initiative. If we vote in favor of maintaining or exploring the establishment of an optional school uniform, we will then discuss the formation of an advisory committee to help implement and manage the process. If we vote against maintaining or exploring the establishment of an optional school uniform, the school will not have a school uniform in 2025-2026, and we will proceed to the next agenda item. Before we move forward, Principal Reese, can you provide the team with the background information on this policy?
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to shift. So this policy came about because there was a number of students, a disproportionate number of students who were being given consequences for dress code violations. And so some of those consequences were anything from in-school suspension to an out-of-school suspension. And we all know that if you're not in school, you are not learning. So what the district's dress code policy does is it reduces all of the restrictions on school dress code. Now, there are some requirements that are in place, and these are the requirements that are in place. You must have a top of non-see-through fabric. You must wear a bottom of non-see-through fabric. You must wear shoes, and none of your undergarments can be visible. That is the gist of the dress code. So there are some other restrictions. The clothing cannot have words or symbols that are gang-related, sexually suggestive, obscene, or promote illegal behavior. Nothing associated with alcohol, illegal drugs, or tobacco. You cannot wear flip-flops, athletic slides, or footwear that doesn't support the front and back of your foot. So those are some restrictions within the dress code. So these are some, this would be contradictory to that board policy if we were to say things like dress in good taste, you can't wear baggy pants, no hoodies or hooded jackets, no leggings, no shirts with cleavage, because remember the rule is do not show undergarments, no extreme hairstyles or colors. All of these things are contradictory to what the board policy says, and these would be problematic. So I'm going to go ahead and let Dr. Grizzle proceed.
Thank you for that information, Principal Reese. Now we can decide if we want to maintain or explore implementing an optional school uniform. This vote will determine if we move forward with the idea. Is there a motion to maintain or explore implementing an optional school uniform?
Dr. Grizzle, before you do that, I have a really quick question before you take that vote, right? Because for anybody there, I'm so sorry I'm late. That's another story. I was in the other room waiting. So in any event, I'm with Communities in School for anybody that does not know that here, and I maintain the care room at the school, right? One of the things that we've come across, right? The young ladies come in, they may have something on that is maybe not see-through, but it's totally inappropriate. Like it's way too tight or way too short. And I didn't see that really, those policies really address that. Could you go back to that slide, Dr. Grizzle? I didn't see where that, I didn't see where that really talked about that, right? We've even had some girls that come in like, and so it says the top is non-see-through, but we've had little babies come in with like there's whole midriff out, right? So my question is if we decide that we are not going to have a dress code, then all of that is now permissible. We can't tell children that, hey, or bring them into the care room, because we've done that since we do have a policy now, a dress code, policy now. We have done that where if they were dressed inappropriately, where they've come into the care room and then we've given them clothes. So my question is if we don't have it, then all of that becomes permissible. Is that correct?
That's correct. But one of the things I want us to consider is sometimes when some of our students are showing up and things are way too short and way too tight, it is not because it was a choice. It is because that is all I had. And so if we were to offer you something, but not forcefully say, oh, you must put this on. We've had students who've been very appreciative of the things. What we've noticed, kids that come to school and their shoes don't fit, we give them a pair of shoes. If, their pants are too big, we will give them a pair of pants, right? And so sometimes, and I would say most times at Kimberly, we're not dealing with an issue of students dressing promiscuously. That's not really our issue. It's usually an issue of need. And so as long as we are not saying, you must put this on, but we can still in the care room offer things to our students when we notice that there is a need.
All right.
Because the flip side of that conversation, Ms. Carter Smith, is if they violate dress code, then what is going to be the consequence for that? And so the consequence should never be taking them away from academics. You have a hand raised.
Can we just call the parents or have a discussion with the parents? Say, it's cold outside. They came to school in hot pants. Were you aware? Or I
I've
don't
done
know.
that. Yes, I've
Yeah,
done that. And like Ms. V said, they don't come to school purposely dressed in
right.
a certain way. This young lady, first grader, had on a cute little, skirt and it had slits, but her underwear was visible. And I called mom. I said, "Hey, mom, such and such is with me. She has on the skirt, her underwear is visible. Do you mind if I take her to the care room?" And she was fine with it. So we went
Okay.
downstairs and got her, another pair of shorts or skirt to put on. But yeah, that is another, possibility. And the parents are, because sometimes the kids dress themselves,
Exactly.
and they get on the bus and that's it. They come to school and that's what we see. And sometimes the parents, they just miss it. Miss Patterson?
Yes, I have a question. Do we have a clothing closet that the community can donate to?
Absolutely. Miss Carter Smith, you want to elaborate on that?
So yeah, Miss Patterson, we do. We have a care room there at Kimberly, right? And we started it last year. It has been really successful. We've had lots of donations. We do have shoes. We have winter jackets and clothes. I just sorted some things today. There's lots of uniforms. We have brand new uniforms in there. Some gently used ones as well. We've been able to get donations thus far from, some of the staff. I've even had teachers from other schools. Last year, I had one teacher, she donated 30 brand new coats. So, and it was just before we got the cold weather. So we are definitely open to donations. We would like them to be gently used, no underwear, no personal items like that. But gently used, yeah, we are taking them. So that we could even be in a position so that those kids that don't have clothes, we're trying to get to a place where we have enough of where we can just make a bag for them. If the parents, once we've spoken with the parents, that's something that we've agreed upon, they're okay with it, just get them a whole bag of clothes together so that they would have that. So yeah, we're open to that, definitely.
Thank you.
Thank,
I will
thank,
follow up with you
All right.
directly and get the list so we can get that out to the community. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
thank you, Miss Patterson.
I also just wanted to get you guys to think about
You're on mute, Miss Hexall.
when you talk about implementing a uniform policy, oftentimes that's going to require a lot of manpower in terms of managing that process. And some of the same people that are focused on instruction and, doing all the things that we're already currently successfully doing are now going to be pulled to really monitor, the clothing that the children are wearing every day and determining who needs to have consequences and who doesn't. And I find, having spent most of my career in middle school, that it is in the middle school environment where the uniforms are most helpful, because students do have a lot more flexibility in what they decide to wear to school. And it oftentimes impacts instruction and students' ability to focus on what they're there for. I did not notice that so much in the elementary school environment being an issue, but just my observation to think about, what it would require of us in terms of managing that.
Thank you, Miss Hexall. Anybody else before we move to vote?
And what does that look like as far as the parents and how that might impact them if it's already an issue with what's being worn? How much more is that going to impact them financially to afford uniforms? It's just a question.
That's something to think about.
Yeah. That's a good one. Yep. Anybody
This
else?
is a hard one, just because of, as a classroom teacher, all kids don't have the same resources. So like, this is a hard one for me. Because if I see something inappropriate, I'll take them down, but I don't know.
Sure does impact our pajama day.
Well,
I
I
don't know.
definitely wouldn't want a child to be impacted educationally because of what they can or cannot wear to school. So if it's a matter of a child needing to leave class because they don't have on the uniform,
Yeah,
that they don't have the means to buy a uniform, I wouldn't want to vote for the uniform in that case.
right. But I
The-
don't think here, it doesn't, I think at our school, at this level, I don't think it's not punitive here. We just try and either, hey, if we don't have anything in the care room, is there anybody that can rent them some clothes or something like that? So yeah, I don't think it's punitive here, but this is something countywide, I think, because I think it's happening at my daughter's school too. So yeah, I don't know. But they get punitive, they get in trouble. It's high school level. Yeah, they get demerit, so I don't know.
I'm
But
like
not,
you, Ms. Dixon. It's a hard toss because I
Yeah.
understand what Dr. Grizzle and Ms. Reese are saying about, folks' inability to purchase uniforms, but then you all know, being in the classroom too, the distraction of sometimes the clothes, the shoes. I have on Jordans, you don't have on Jordans. I don't know. It's a hard one, but we're gonna vote.
However, in our care room is just not stocked with uniforms. You take donations. And so when you're giving those donations, you cannot guarantee that every kid's donation will be a bag of uniforms. It's going to be what we have in stock.
Right.
and like Miss Moran said, it's just one less thing to worry about and to get in trouble for and to be removed from the classroom if you don't have the proper uniform on. So all around, it's a catch-22. So are we ready to vote? Any more ideas, wonderings, concerns? Okay.
Just a quick comment, Dr. Grizzle,
Yeah.
and this is another reason why it is so important for us to continue to work on sponsorships and partnerships.
Mhm.
Because think about it, if we had a sponsor or a partner that can just purchase a batch of uniforms and put them in the closet or get count of the number of students that are in need of one or two uniforms, just something to continue to move forward on and try to find out what we can.
I think it's important to note that the poverty level at our school is at about the high 70, sometimes low 80%. So that's a big chunk of our students.
Yeah, these are all very good concerns.
I want to know what the data says, you guys. I want to know what the data says. Is there any data that in 2023-24 supports one or the other? I know years ago there was a big piece of research about, the productivity that increased when students were in uniform. I'm not so sure that that's valid anymore.
Mhm.
That was in, the early 2000s or so.
And I just want to mention, we currently don't have a uniform policy at Kimberly. We suggest, that's all we suggest, but we do not have a uniform policy at this time. And this would, we wouldn't even suggest at this point.
And although we don't, students by choice show up in some type of uniform, whether it's khaki shorts, a red polo, or khaki pants. So it's a good mixture.
Hey,
And
it
to
makes
that
makes
point,
school shopping a lot easier. You know, you get 5 khaki pants, you get 5 red shirts, and we call it a day and we're done. I mean,
until until you just mentioned that, Principal Reese and Dr. Grizzle, every time I'm at the school, this whole time I thought you all had a uniform policy because that's what I see. I see the khaki pants, I see the shirt for on most of the, that's what I see for the most part, which speaks volumes as to, again, how what we're seeing at the school. Um, this is a tough one. All right, Principal Reese, you
Okay, let's vote. Yeah, we can be.
I don't get a vote.
Yeah, so, all right. All right, is there, oh, my phone keeps going off, sorry. Is there a motion to maintain or explore implementing an optional school uniform?
Dr. Grizzle, I'm so sorry. I have a quick question. Can we make our own guidelines? Like, can we say you can't wear cut-off t-shirts? Or can we say your shorts have to be to your fingertips?
If there's not a uniform implementation?
So if she's saying
If-
if there was,
Yeah,
but
because those didn't say that we read. The
right, but
counties
then
didn't say that.
ask yourself, who's monitoring that? And then what happens when the child has on shorts that are, let's just say, above mid-thigh? So what's going to happen to that child?
So they can only go to the care room if they want to go to the care room. If they say, oh, this is all I have, I'm very cold.
Like you could offer it, you could say, hey, do you want to see what else we have? But if they don't want to, then they are free to wear what they want to wear.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
Ready to vote.
ready. Is there a motion to maintain or explore implementing an optional school uniform?
I vote to maintain.
You're on
I'm
mute, Miss
sorry.
Amy.
I vote to maintain an optional dress uniform, school uniform.
So just to get clarity, are you voting yes, I want a school uniform? Are you voting no, I do not want the students to have to wear a uniform? I don't want to have a
I vote no. I do not want the students to have to be mandated to wear a school uniform.
Okay, yes, so the question is to explore the implementation of one. So your vote will be no. Okay. Okay, there is no motion. This means Go Team does not want to maintain or explore implementing an optional school uniform at this time. We will now proceed to the next item on our agenda, and that is our principal's report.
Okay, it's me again. All right. So this is our discussion on leveling. So this school year, we were projected last year to have 275 students. That would have been our lowest enrollment since I've been at Kimberly. At our 15-day count, we used to do a 10-day count. They've extended it to 15 days. We had 252 students. That does not count pre-K students. Their number is never within our projection number. That gave us a difference of 23 students, which means that we had a budget adjustment of a negative $122,682. So this was a plan for last year. Last year with what was our projected leveling reserve. We wanted to get a teacher tutor. We wanted to add an instructional para, and that was going to cost $68,439. And then the overage of that was going to come from the Title I carryover. So that was the plan last year. With the Title I holdback money, the plan was to purchase Imagine Learning. which is My Path. It is an adaptive math program, math and ELA program. And to purchase Mastery Connect. We use Mastery Connect to make our assessments, our pre and post assessments, so that, we're able to see how our students are growing in different areas that are on that assessment. Again, that was last year's plan. Now, one thing I will add about this, we did actually purchase the My Path for the school year and the Mastery Connect. So what is the result of these changes? What adjustment did we make? Well, we had some personnel changes that happened last year. It was voted on by the Go team. It was to create a turnaround reading teacher. It was to move our counselor from half-time to full-time. We removed one teacher from each grade level, grades K through 3. And then we removed our clinical therapist, and we offset that with having the full-time counselor. Based on the negative $122,682, there were some non-personnel changes that had to happen. We had to reduce our travel expense. We had to reduce instructional equipment and furniture. So those numbers in red, those are the negatives that we had to offset this school year in our budget, because we were thinking that we were going to have an overage. We had to reduce student admissions into field trips. We had to reduce money on the line item for dues and fees. That would be conference dues and fees, and that would kind of go along with that travel up there, because the travel, that takes care of your flight and your hotel stay, and the dues and fees would be your conference fees. We had to reduce textbooks. We had to reduce postage, web-based subscriptions and licensing. We had to, our security grant, we're going to talk a little bit about that. And our school reserve fund was a negative. Our school reserve fund, we had to use all of that, and our Title I adjustment. That is how we entered a zero balance. Now, here's a summary of some of those changes. This means that we won't be able to attend out-of-state educational conferences, okay? There are some local things that we can attend. There are some free things that we can attend through Metro Risa. And so we just kind of have to take advantage of the things that exist locally. For field trips, we really need to explore free opportunities for our students, field trips that are low cost, and even virtual field trips. Because we had to reduce student admissions, even though there is policy that says that you don't want to punish a child because they can't afford to pay for a field trip. But in all actuality, if you were to go somewhere, let's just say the Georgia Aquarium, and they're charging $20 a student, they are going to charge $20 a student. And so that money had to come from somewhere. So now we had to use the money on that line item. We don't actually have a need for new textbooks. So that one was not an issue for us. The program that we talked about, that new program the district paid for. When it came to postage, our attendance letters that we normally would mail home are now being sent home. And the caveat to that is we are having to give them to students to give to their parents and hoping that they make it there. But we also kind of use that to find students that were no longer in district, which can impact our attendance and our tardies. So when it came to that security grant, we were able to hang on to our non-instructional para. And so it does give us an extra layer of security, because we do have an adult that is on the hallway, that is monitoring our hallways for us. We'll probably, hopefully next year, we'll be able to kind of use that security grant money in another way. We're hoping that we meet our projected enrollment next year so that we can use it in a different way. So here's a little bit of information about our school. We did make some personnel, just job title changes. We didn't add teachers, we just added classrooms. And so to reduce down the number of students in kindergarten and second grade, we did add 2 EIP, reduced class size, self-contained classes to reduce those class sizes. So, and that was in an effort to build those foundational skills. So the lift in third grade is not so hard, because to be honest, we're seeing that lift in third grade year after year. And even though we can say, yes, we did have some a dysfunctional year just a little bit last year, but we are seeing consistently in third grade the heavy lift. And that's because that's the first grade that they test. And so we're able to see in black and white, what is it translating to? So we're hoping that this will help us. We had an autism unit class that was a K-5 class. It was very difficult to support everybody's needs in that class. So we split that class into a K2 and a 3-5 class. And so now, and due to leveling at another school, we are going to gain another para to support us with that. I am your interim principal. That is a change that happened. Some of our highlights, we had a very large turnout for grits and grammar with grandparents. Say that 5 times. And so here's a picture from that. We had our student goal setting conferences with our kids, and that picture up above shows Dr. Grizzle and Miss Morgan sitting with 2 of our scholars, and we literally sit with them. We talk about their results. We talk about where you should be, what kind of things you can put in place. We talk about math. We talk about reading. We talk about extra reading and getting AR points. We talk about their attendance, and we set goals for behavior. And then at our next goal setting meeting, which will happen after our next MAP in the winter, they're going to be rewarded for meeting goals. And then at our final goal setting conference, then we have a goal setting celebration. All right. Here's some things that are upcoming. We have Fall Picture Day coming up September 30th. We have a Title I meeting and curriculum night that's going to be on October 2nd. We're going to have a Saturday enrichment program, and that's going to be handled by Hands on Atlanta, and that's going to start on Saturday, October the 5th. We have Hispanic Heritage Month Festival. That's going to happen October 11th. And then we will be out for fall break. Well, most people will be out. I'll still be at work, but the students will be out for fall break October 14th through the 18th.
Miss Reese is being coy. There's also a Boss's Day coming up. She deleted it, so I'm going to go up here and figure out when that day is.
So
and
I moved
that's
to the next
October
slide.
16th.
We do ask that we have at least 3 Go Team members to attend on Saturday, September 28th. All Go Team members are invited, but they want us to have at least 3 to attend. And it is the 6th annual G3 Summit. And the topic, the title of this one is Leading with Purpose. Let's get to work. It's going to be at Tuskegee Airmen Global Academy from 8:30 to 2:30. Unfortunately, I won't be able to attend this. My niece is getting married that day. And so I will be at my niece's wedding. All right, any questions?
I attended that conference last year and it was great for anyone who's interested. I also can't be out of town.
I'll attend it this year, so I'll be one of the Go Team members that will attend.
Awesome.
I think I can attend, but let me check my calendar. I'll let you know tomorrow. Okay.
I volunteer for a church event on that day and I'm leading it, so I won't be able to attend that day.
I can attend.
All right, I'm gonna leave this slide up, so if you want to just get a quick pick, you can. All right, Dr. Grizzle. Does anybody have any questions?
So we went through the announcements. Okay. We have reached the end. I'm sorry, do we have any questions? Okay. We have reached the end of our agenda. Is there any additional business at this time? Okay. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I, Sharita Moraine, move to adjourn the meeting.
A second?
I, Catherine Carter Smith, second that.
All in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. All opposed, please raise your hand. Any abstentions? Please raise your hand. All right. Meeting is adjourned.
Good evening, everybody.
All
Have a
right.
great
Thank
one.
you all